Hello, everybody. I am rebranded. I am a new bitch, okay? So I'm not going to be doing my old intro. I don't know if I'm really going to be doing an intro, period. I'm really experimenting with my content right now. Still coming with the real tea, real shit, real knowledge, real value that's tangible that you can use, but I'm really more so paying attention to the holistic point of view, because I know a lot of times we can really get caught up in spirituality being its own entity, its own practice, only for a specific group of people, and having this taboo idea around it, when it really shows up in the principles that we discuss, the principles that I preach on, that I talk about, that a lot of real authentic spiritual advisors and gurus and teachers and shamans speak on. A lot of these principles come up in everyday life, especially the ones about limiting beliefs and overcoming past trauma and how subtle it can be. If you see me looking over here at all, for those that are watching the video, I am looking at my notes. I make very few notes because I just want to remember what came up for me while I was watching, or when that idea came up. Today is specifically about watching. And Netflix did this thing where they released all of the old black sitcoms that we used to really love as children, right? And rewatching things as adult it gives you a whole new and different perspective. Not even just from those shows, but also just other shows that I've watched that I like when I was younger. Some are still very much so a hit, and some definitely missed the mark and are not still as amazing as they were. But the other day I was really watching the Parkers. Don't know if y'all like the Parkers. Don't know if you know anything about the Parkers. But I was watching the Parkers. But the Parkers used to be me and my mama's shit. That was our shiznai, okay? We were not really big Moesha people. And rewatching it now, I can see why. Because she got very annoying towards the fewer seasons. Like after season 3, she was very annoying. So that wasn't our stuff. But I was rewatching the Parkers. That show still hits. It's still hilarious. But my problem came up when I get really frustrated about Hollywood, entertainers, whoever the fuck, really perpetuating the same ideals and stereotypes in black communities. And these stereotypes keeps us in a box. It keeps us very limited. And when you're watching TV, when you're sucked in, when you're drawn in, you're in such a hypnotic, suggestible state that you don't even realize how suggestible and how digestible those suggestions are to you. If you've ever seen, what's that show? Saved by the Bell. There was an episode on subliminals, funny enough. And a lot of advertisement use subliminals. Your subconscious only sees things in pictures and very short words and phrases anyway. So, and the more hidden it is, the more potent it is, because it's the more unrecognizable it is to the conscious mind. Now, I'm not going to get into the semantics of distracting your conscious mind to get into your subconscious mind or any of that jazz, because that's a whole deep dive, that's a whole different thing. But it really got me to thinking about how suggestible we are to such subtle suggestions. Like when you're just casually watching the Parkers, you're not thinking about how it's perpetuating the same single mother stereotype and broken household stereotype. Thank God Kim's dad was actually in her life, but he was barely around. Not only that, the only permissible and interesting part about Nikki is the fact that she was going to school as a 30-year-old. She was going back to college as a mid-30-year-old and having this weird stalker-ish personality. But we really don't get anything outside of that. Like, her character and her identity is just to her weight. The fact that she's stalking this man, that maybe she has a friend, and that she's a mom as a teenager. She was also a teenage mom. You know how many stereotypes were perpetuated in just that? And we didn't get any background story. There was no holistic viewpoint of her life. We had no perspective. It was literally just, this is what it is. Another single mother story, another poor living in the projects story, another abusive relationship story. Not that she was in an abusive relationship. Just think of all the black stories that come to mind in these shows, especially Tyler Perry. Don't get me started on Tyler Perry. The lack of success for women, the climbing and clawing their way to the top, the doing multiple different things, the joining the MLM, the so many things. My mind just keeps going into so many different directions, but there's so many different narratives like this. Like, let's just think about a really popular show, The Have and the Have Nots. Of course, Tyler Perry. But her being in this small house in the hood, 2 children, no father for either of them to speak of, really struggling, living in this such a quaint house, $50,000, and she actually was able to pay it off, but then going into debt, and then still working at age 60. Maybe she wasn't 60, maybe she was in her late 40s, but still working an hourly job and not having any career or anything to attribute really to life except for her holy religion. That's all she can bring. And it's so interesting to me how they make black people more Christian than the white people that started the religion, but that's neither here nor there. But we are, and if you're like me, I'm really tired of the black women struggle story. And I'm saying black women specifically because we have a overbridging problem with women not being able to see their worth, see their values, having the women's right thing, the abortions trying to get overturned, the getting paid less than a man and being seen as less than or less valuable, and that our identity should only be tied to making a home, caring for a man or caring for a partner, and producing children, instead of being able to live a life that's also fulfilling and fun and untamed and wild and embraced fully. Instead of being able to live in that bliss and having stories perpetuating that bliss, we keep getting these contracted stories of playing small, being less than, not living luxurious, always needing to be so strong for everybody else, continuously getting beat down and doing and pouring more into others than pouring into yourself. These same stories like it's what's supposed to happen, and them perpetuating the story like it's supposed to happen continues to normalize it. And when you normalize something, you internalize it whether you know it or not. Our brains are lazy. Our consciousness are lazy. That's why so many things in our body are on automatic or on automation, because that would burn way too many calories if we had to think about doing every single thing our body needs to do to function. But when you're not taking the time to consciously and intentionally consume those hypnotic messages, those subliminal suggestions get placed in your subconscious, and now you're operating in a way that you're sacrificing yourself for everybody. You're not able to pour into yourself. Women are still being treated as less than. Black women are treated as even less than that. And then the stories just keep perpetuating it more and more. Like even Moesha, which I mentioned earlier, has that black woman dying early story. Like black mother dying early story. You never realize how many mother dead stories come along just because they don't want to cast a mother, because they don't feel like going through the process of casting somebody for their role. Or sometimes it's not even that. They just really think that, ooh, this might add a little juiciness to her character. Like the character can't be juicy without all of this trauma, without all of this pain. And you never realize how many black dead mother stories there are out there until your mom dies. Okay. I felt like I was getting triggered everywhere when my mom first died, because people just kept not having moms. What is that? What is that? It's very strange. Very strange. And when we keep perpetuating these black women struggle stories in the media of this single mother story, then we go into this idea of women not wanting a partner, not wanting to get married, especially to men. I'm not sure how it is with LGBTQ communities. I never am able to say the letters without stumbling over my letters, but I'm not sure how it works in that community. I know a lot of women just want to be independent. They don't want a relationship at all. They wipe their hands clean of it because they don't want to bring and perpetuate another stereotype of being a baby mama. But then again, see how that idea, see how that belief, or the belief that you have to struggle for money and money is hard to come by, and don't be out here using my money, I have to be sacred with money. We have to be very scarce and lack energy with money. In this specific episode that I was watching I didn't even get through the episode. It was literally like in the first 2 minutes of the episode, and Kim was like, she went shopping and bought this outfit, and her mom was like, how did you pay for that? She was like, your credit card. And she was like, it went through? Excuse me? Like, so now you're telling me that black women don't even know if their credit card balance is gonna go through? We don't even have enough money to buy clothes? Is that what you're trying to tell me? And you might be thinking, Asia, you thinking too deep into that. But no, I'm not. If you understand how your brain works, because whatever you consume, you become, whether you're conscious or unconscious of it, because the repetition of these beliefs, the repetitions of these ideals, the repetition of this behavior and this normalization in different TV shows coming from different areas. That's why it's able to seep even deeper and deeper into your consciousness, because it's being shown in multiple different lenses, from multiple different viewpoints, from multiple different areas. And this manifests in everyday life. I watch TV different than most people. That's one of my things, is I learn a lot from television shows. Maybe that's because I'm a creative myself. I am not worldwide. I have a wide range of things that interest me. And when I was growing up, acting, television, stories, because I wanted to write, really interested me. So being able to see books that told stories, televisions, movies that told stories, all in a similar way, but still perpetuating these same beliefs. And what you'll seem to understand is that we're living in a world made up of beliefs that have been normalized. When you think about when Jesus came, not saying that he's a deity, not saying that he's a God, not saying that he's the son of God. That's not proven. I don't have proof of that. I was not there, so we don't discuss that. But he did come. I do know that. He was here. And when he was here, when he was preaching his messages, when he was having his disciples, that was considered new age. That was considered innovative. That was considered revolutionary. That was considered a different belief system. And then instances kept happening where people started to believe this belief system. Is my child crying? People started to believe this belief system the more that he proved what he was talking about. And the more he proved what he was talking about, the more normalized that belief system became. Now, did people manipulate that belief system? Absolutely, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just showing you how things can be innovative one minute and normalized the next. Let's talk about when social media had just started popping off. Facebook, MySpace. What a phenomenon. What a time. Just even email messaging. I remember me and my friends I used to run home so I am on the computer all night. I am. With my dial-up internet, right? And now look at how it's so normal. The shit is on my phone. I could do anything from my phone. I could even record this video right now from my phone and still get pretty decent quality, because that's what's normalized. We're normal to have that type of technology just sitting at my fucking fingertips. It is normal for me to order my groceries now. It is normal for me to enter in that type of belief system. So when we keep perpetuating this black woman's struggle story in the media, what belief system does that perpetuate? Not just to black women, but to people that interact with black women. People think that they're always over-exaggerating, being dramatic. People can not ever believe black women. Why? Because in these shows, they're over-dramatic. They're lying. They're manipulating. They're the femme fatale, the shadow side of the femme fatale, that is. But let them have a white counterpart helping them. Now they're able to progress. Now they're able to go forward. Let them have a white partner, like talking about Scandal. Me and my husband were talking the other day while we stopped watching Scandal, because I was just tired of seeing black women only being able to be successful if they were with a white man or a whitewashed version of a man. Now, this is not me putting down white people at all. I have no issue with any group of people. I have issues when it perpetuates a narrative and a stereotype that is not true. It's a belief. It's what people believe to be true. Racism is a thing based on how people believe the bullshit and the lies that the founding fathers told them. It's that people believe everybody is a hood, everybody is a criminal because of what they've been taught. They believe that everybody is a baby mama. The nurses at my when I'm giving birth, not my midwife, but my nurses, asking me if I'm going to have anybody with me. Yes, the person that put the baby in me. So why are you assuming? You don't assume that a white woman will be coming in here alone. So why are you assuming that I am? Because of the way we are taught. And you might think that that TV is just entertainment, which it is. But there's more than that. There's always a lesson in almost everything that is produced. Artists are not just driving by blind. Some of them are. But there's usually a point to things. Or you can usually make a point in things. And when you see what you're consuming and how it's shaping your ideas and your views, because if you watch a TV show that triggers you, there are many different reasons it could trigger you. But if you see a TV show, like I was watching this episode of the Power Rangers, and I started watching a new Power Rangers because there was a black man in power without something else attached to it. He was a mayor of a town or something. And there's very few TV shows where the black man is just like that, period. The main character, not only that, a main character in a high position, high ranking place of power. And that place of power shows other black kids, shows other black children that they also can be in that empowered place. So they grow up with already those beliefs of empowerment. But thinking about when we're growing up, we clung to these shows because we didn't have many shows with representation. I loved A Different World. I don't give a fuck. I loved The Cosby Show. I don't give a fuck. I know what he did. That doesn't mean I support the actions. But at the time when we were watching it, where was the other representation that was actually giving me positive influence? That was actually saying, no, black people don't have to struggle. No, I'm not out of money. No. Like even that episode where Vanessa got beat up because she was quote unquote rich and them white girls was jealous. That doesn't happen, but it can. But it can happen. Normalize generational wealth for black people. But they don't know how to pass that on. Me knowing that, my mom only had life insurance. Everything else got taken from me simply because she thought that she could not do it. And this is not just people that are in the survival mode right now. These are semi-successful, very successful clients of mine that still are in that same state and idea. Many people that I've worked with, talked to, people that have commented are still in that idea, even though they're making money, like $15,000, $20,000 a month, and are still stuck in that idea that they can't do it. They don't have enough. They can't afford it. It's impossible for them to do so. That's just not something that they do. Like when people say black people don't swim, based on what? Who gave you that belief? Black people don't go skiing. That's something that only rich black people do. Based on what? Who gave you that belief? And I bet you'll go back to the things that you've seen. Oh, that's just what I know. Based on what? The TVs that you've seen, the TVs that you've watched, the conversations that you've had with people just repeating the same beliefs over and over again. Children learn by watching, by observing. My son and my daughter learn things by observing us. My daughter learns how to do things by observing her brother do them. And then they will just become normal. But the thing about it is, when you grow up, when you evolve, you're supposed to grow and evolve your beliefs as well, but we're not taught that. So we keep perpetuating and bringing on beliefs that no longer serve us. We keep watching television and consuming content that keep perpetuating limiting narratives that puts us in a box. Now, when you can actually change your beliefs and take a step back and observe, you'll be able to see how these things are perpetuated and then be able to just take things as strict entertainment. But if you're not doing the work internally to set up a belief system that works for you, serves you in a way that's conducive for your life, you're going to keep perpetuating the same story that you're so tired of seeing. And this doesn't go just for black people. I was watching The Baker and the Beauty. So irritated that show got canceled. Also, start watching shows with representation. People, we need representation. We want representation. That is representation across the board. Not just black stuff. Asian things. Hispanic things. Latina things. Indian things. Etc., etc. The list goes on. But if we want that representation, you have to watch the things so that they can continue to get picked up. So go, if you're listening to this right now, go watch The Baker and the Beauty on Netflix, so maybe Netflix can go and pick it up and revamp the show, because the show is good as fuck. But my point of that is, even that Latinx show, not sure how to say it, were perpetuating the same story of them just surviving, struggling, owning their own business, but barely making the bills, barely making ends meet. All of the children have to work in the pastry shop so that they don't have to pay employees. Like, huh? Why is that the only story that y'all seem to be able to perpetuate? Why is the only story that all Hispanics live together? That's why I literally could not watch Jane and the Virgin. It was frustrating as fuck to watch. I really didn't like that show. That might just be me. But, and my husband is part Hispanic, so I asked him, do you find that offensive when they have in shows where all of the people have to live together? And he said yes, because that's not always what happens. There needs to be more conversations and more realistic and believable and true and unlimiting narratives. We need to step out of this miniature box and go beyond, go the deeper, tell the stories, give me background, give me perspective. Stop giving me the I'm a black woman too powerful and intimidates men, so she's single and lonely forever story. So she has to change her energy and change her power and lessen herself to get a man. Fuck that. Fuck that. The single mother story. The single poor mother story, let me say. Because you could be a single mother. Who gives a fuck? But why do you have to be poor? Why do they have to be impoverished just because they're a single mother? Why do they have to be struggling the fuck down just because they're a single mother? They don't. And that's the thing I'm trying to portray, is when you're more conscious when consuming, you can see how that type of content contributes to the belief system and the limiting beliefs and the limiting ideals and the things that are holding you back and your self-doubt and just how you normally and see the world. When you change your state of normalization, it opens you up to more awareness. It opens your container energetically. It removes some of the limits that you've put on yourself. And if you need a question to see if it's a belief, to see if it's a limiting belief, just simply ask, based on what? I have to be poor and struggling just because I'm a single mother, based on what? I have to work twice as hard. Like, yes, there are specific things that are set up in our society by people that fear our power, that don't understand, that want to keep us limited and small because it's lucrative as fuck for them. But just because they are trying to limit you, that does not mean you can limit yourself, because there's Oprah, Tyler Perry. There are plenty of people that are black, that are successful, that are not struggling, not even just multi-billionaires. Let's talk about a television show, Blackish. They're not struggling. Do they have financial literacy? No, because that's not something black people are taught. But they're not struggling. They're not perpetuating that same stereotype. So see how you want to live your life and see how you've been living your life in limitations. Not just when it comes to money, but when you pay it, but money is so tangible, so it's so much easier to understand. And when you see how you view money, when you see how you view your possibilities of making money, you can start to, what's that word? Reverse engineer your beliefs to see how the content you are consuming are contributing to this limitation. So that's all I have today on that topic. I hope it resonated. I hope it hit home for you. I hope it understand my thought process. Like I said, I'm experimenting with my content. YouTube, I'm going to have some different content on the behind the scenes of really growing and building a soul-led, diversified business, because there's a lot of things like about growing their business online, but people really forget the energies and the frequencies and the spiritualities, especially if you're building a business. Not saying that a soul-led business is only a spiritual-based business. Like, you don't have to provide spiritual-based services to have a soul-led business. You don't. I have people that do hair. I have people that are in technology. I have people that are brand and want to be brand influencers like makeup. But they're all conscious in their creations. They're all conscious in every head that they touch. They're living there and building their business off of their own characteristics, their own morals, and their own values, from a place of honoring themselves and doing what makes them happy, monetizing their passions. Another belief people have is that you can't monetize things that you're good at or passionate about because you're already good at it. Duh, that's why you should monetize it, because it's easy for you. Like, why do we have this belief that everything that we do to make money has to be hard? Why do you have this belief that life needs to be harder than it already is going to be? Do what comes naturally for you. I keep trying to tell my friends that. Do what fucking comes naturally for you. Money and numbers and perspectives and digging deeper and philosophy and science and the human psyche comes naturally for me. Most of the things that I knew before I learned it. It just comes naturally for me. Business ideas and strategies come naturally for somebody, but that doesn't mean your soul expression is not coming through in that. Makeup comes naturally for people. Technology comes naturally for other people. Systems and automations come natural to people. Cleaning is something that people really enjoy and comes natural to people. Organization. I could go on and on. You can monetize literally fucking anything. as I've noticed in my Mystic Money mentorship. It's possible. It happens. So rework the beliefs, see what you're consuming, and yeah, that's all I have for you today. That's where we're going to start today, and do that. And a lot of people won't do the work. But if you really want change in your life, if you really want to get out of the situation that you're currently in, that you do not like, if you are like most of the people that find and come across me and stumble across my content, is that you're not really enjoying the cycle of life you're in right now. That means that you need to change the cycle of life you're in and be more conscious of the content that you're consuming. And then we'll talk about how we can actually start making more content that's empowering instead of disempowering. But that's a whole nother video, whole nother podcast episode, whole nother day. Because that's going to be an even deeper, even bigger bag to unpack. So that's all I had today. And if you like this video, if you're watching the video, please give it a thumbs up down below. If you like this podcast episode, you found it valuable, you found it helpful, leave a review down below, 5 stars, 4 stars, and leave what the most impactful thing or the biggest takeaway that you had from this episode. Sip my coffee, and I'll see you next time if you're watching the video, and you'll hear me next time if you're listening to the podcast. And yeah, see you later, guys.